Okay, class, we're going to get started here, week 1 of medical terminology. So hopefully this will guide you through this first week's lesson as far as building medical terminology words. So we're going to start with just breaking down and helping you understand the components of the words. There are prefixes and suffixes. So these are prefixes, of course, they're parts of the word that come before the root word, and they change the meaning of the root word. These are things, common ones are hyper, hypo, intra, and peri. So you can have a word like periarticular, and arthro is meaning a joint. So periarticular is meaning around the joint. So that peri changes the meaning of the root word. And again, you can have suffixes as well. These come after the root word. They also change the meaning of the word, and usually they describe pathology. So this is arthritis, since we're talking about joints, or inflammation of the joint itself, or hepatomegaly. That's another one, looking at the words I have up here. Hepatomegaly, right, or enlargement of the liver. So hepat is liver. Hepatoma is a tumor in the liver. So these are describe pathology typically, and they exist after the root word, and they can be linked to the root word utilizing a combining form when it starts with a consonant. So I'm going to show you later, but that's one of the rules for combining forms, and I'm going to show you a lot about that later, so just keep that in mind for right now. So root words is what the prefix and suffix or another root word is linked to in a medical word term. Usually they're Greek or Latin. Some examples are derm and arth. We've talked about those already. Derm, of course, is your skin. And they can be linked to other root words in combining forms. So here's an example. Osteo is a combining form. Chondro is a combining form. And so you have osteo. This is the combining form with that O on the end. Osteochondritis. So this is inflammation of the bone and the cartilage. So you have two root words linked together with a combining form, and then you have a suffix on the end of that word. So you see that here's your first root word right here, and here's the second root word, and this O is the combining form. So you have osteochondritis, and here's your suffix here. So we're going to go over those combining forms because those are probably the trickiest things that we're going to talk about this week. So words are a combination, like I said, of prefixes, suffixes, and root words that are put together utilizing combining forms. So here are some examples of root words. Hepat, which we talked about, is liver, gastro, stomach, and the combining forms, and this is the correct format. So make sure you use this format on all your quizzes, otherwise you'll get it wrong. Is written like this: hepato and gastro. Those are the combining forms, and that's how they're written if we're just writing a combining form. Now if they ask you for a complete medical term, of course, going back to the other slide, you don't include the dash when you're writing a complete medical word like you see here. Osteo, the dash would go right here, but instead we write it straight out since we're writing a complete medical word, osteochondritis. In contrast, if the quiz says, what is the combining form for liver, you're going to write it in this format here, HEPAT \O, because that is the correct way to write just a combining form. So we have root words, and then we have their combining forms, which allows them to be linked to other things, suffixes or other root words. And then we have suffixes and prefixes, which we talked about. We have itis, we have tomi. Those are both suffixes. And then we have prefixes. And here's some of the most common: hyper and hypo. So how does this kind of all work together? And that's what this next slide is all about for you guys. So here's an example. Hepatitis, right? Common word most people have heard of. The root of that word is hepat. The combining form is hepato, and the suffix is itis. So when we write it all together, we write hepatitis. Now, because the suffix ends with a vowel here, we leave off the O of the combining form. If the suffix or whatever it's being linked to starts with a consonant, such as this next example, then we leave the O of the combining form there. So, for example, the root word is gastro, and the combining form is gastro, and the suffix is tomi. But since tomi starts with a consonant, when we put the word together, we leave this combining form in. So now we have gastrotomy, right? So here is the complete word here. So, if the suffix or the next root word begins with a vowel, we drop the O. If the suffix and or the next root word begins with a consonant, we leave the O in as part of the combining form. So here's a couple, and I didn't write these all out like this so that you guys can practice and you guys can kind of start getting the gist of it. So here's hyperkalemic. So this has a prefix and a suffix and a root word that I'll let you guys kind of sort through there. But you can see there, hyper, as we talked about earlier, means excess of something. An excessive state of something is what this word means. And then you've got hypokalemic, which means a low state of something. So I'll let you work through the root, the combining form, and the suffix, or the prefix and suffix on those words. Here's an example of two root words being linked together with the combining form. Hepatogastromegaly, right? So hepato is the combining form. Since gastro starts with a consonant, we leave the O in there. And the same thing here. Since megaly starts with a consonant, we leave the O in. If this was hepatogastritis, we would not leave the term here. We would not leave that O in. It would just be hepatogastritis. So hopefully this makes sense. This might be the most confusing thing all semester, but once you kind of get these rules in place, you're going to be wildly successful in this class. So if you have questions about any of this, email me, text me, call me. I'll be happy to help you out with all of this. A couple other things for this week. Syllabus, make sure you read it. Some confusing points. The text for this class, in my opinion, should be mandatory. If you don't get the textbook, you're going to be putting yourself at a significant disadvantage for this class. So make sure you go out, you get the text. It's wildly helpful in this class. I'm trying to think of the right way to say that, but you'll be putting yourself at significant disadvantages without getting it. So make sure you have it. This first week you can complete all the assignments without the textbook, so if you don't have it, don't worry about this week. But going forward, after the first 2 weeks, you really need the textbook. The grade is composed of assignments, quizzes, discussion board participation, and a midterm and final examination. I say this every semester, but the key to doing well in this class is participating and completing all your assignments, which you think everybody would understand, but not so. Every semester I have students who only complete some assignments or only participate so much in the discussion boards, and because of that they miss critical points when it comes down to the grade, and points that could easily have padded you against missing a few points on the final examination. So make sure you're participating every week. Make sure you're putting yourself on a schedule. Monday I'm going to do Tuesday's work, and Wednesday I'm going to do Thursday's work, and then I'm going to take the quiz on Friday or Saturday, and I'm going to study every day for 15 minutes on all my terms and work through my assignments. So make sure you're doing that. If you do that, you'll be successful. If not, it's going to be a struggle for most of you. And then the last thing is that your reading review assignments, you can turn those in up to 1 week late. They stay open for 1 week, so you don't get feedback on them right away. Because they do stay open an additional week, we can't get feedback back to you until the assignment is completely closed. So once that's completely closed, then they'll be able to get that feedback back to you. Assignments for this week. The class runs on a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday deadline. All due dates are listed in the content tab, and they're very clear, so I'm not going to go over all of those. But as for this week, Tuesday is your icebreaker and initial post, reading basic elements of a medical word, and your CI preparation. Thursday is the CI reading review, and Saturday is the syllabus quiz, basic elements of a medical word quiz, and make sure your icebreaker responses are in by that date. Again, if you have questions or concerns, you can post them in the question discussion board. I saw that somebody already did that, and I appreciate that. Or you can always contact me directly. Here's my phone. You can call or text me that. I don't have a problem with either of those. I'd be happy to talk to you or text you. Also, I'm available by email, and we can certainly set up a live video chat. The school has a lot of capabilities with Adobe Connect Classrooms. Or we can set up another way if something works better for you, Skype or FaceTime. I have all those abilities, so I'm happy to meet with you as much or as little as you want to during the semester. And then just a couple of reminders: update your profile in iLearn 3. Make sure your picture is included. And then I'm going to try and use Twitter a little bit this semester. So if you want to be involved in that, where I'm just going to try and tweet out some terms for the week and help you guys, think about medical terminology during the week. It won't be anything overbearing or overburdened for you, but it should be something that's a little bit of fun, I think, for the class. So you can do that as well. Anyways, I think this semester will be great. From here on out, I'll have a spiritual thought at the end of all my lectures. Once we get rolling through the week and get more into our regular routine. But I look forward to working with you this semester. I think it's going to be a great semester, and we have a lot of good people in the class this semester. So have a great week. Thank you.